Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachah and Hebarim the world over. My name is Devon Gal. You can call me Akabria. And welcome to another Shabbat devotional. We represent Natsarim Israel. Here we believe that Yahweh Elohim created everything in the heavens, earth, and seas, and all that fills in spirit, flesh, elements, and vegetation. That He does not change, but remains the same yesterday, today, forevermore. Along with His word, whether it is flesh in the form of Yahushua HaMashiach, spoken or written, is eternal, does not change, is consistent, and always accomplishes what it was sent to do. And we do believe that Yahweh does not lie. He always does what He says He will do, and keeps His covenants to 1,000 generations of them that love Him and keep His Torah. Clearly, we are they that believe in using the restored name of the Creator. Restored name, what does that mean? For some of you, you may not be sure. Well, unfortunately for your King James versions and a lot of the translations, and actually what would be better described as transliterations that have passed through cultural filters from Greek to Latin to German to English, have taken along with them certain cultural contexts and cultural practices and understandings that do not pertain to the text. We believe in the restored text, the restored knowledge, meaning as close from Hebrew to English as possible. Unfortunately, we are limited by our tongue, and most of us in this day and age, speak English, the bastard language. But through diligence and perseverance, we find texts and translations, as opposed to transliterations, of the set-apart scriptures to give us better understanding is that the Creator wants for our lives, and how, through His Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, not Jesus, notice that as well, we can find our redemption through Him. Just what Yahushua means, that Yah is salvation, that now Yah is with His people, Imanu Yah, and what that means to us and the significance of that in this day and age. As we can all see, things are getting a little crazy in the world. The sky is falling, Chicken Little. It's important that we find some semblance of peace, and that there's a rock within the storm that is immovable. That rock for me is Yahushua HaMashiach, and I hope it is for you too. In fact, if you're joining me, I'm sure that for those of you just joining, and I guess for whoever comes along in the meantime, you get started with a prayer. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Shabbat. We'll get started with a prayer, and then we'd say the Shema. Some of you don't know it. This will be the first time that I'll say it for you. Then we'll move on with our study for the day. We're going to do 3 chapters from the Nevi'im, which is the prophets. We'll do 3 chapters from the Ketharim, which are the writings, and then 3 from the Brit Hadash, most commonly and erroneously called the New Testament, which is actually the renewed covenant, which Yahushua brought. So if you'd like to join me all over the world, wherever you are, we'll begin with a prayer. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, Boreinu, Elohim Shabbat Shamayim, Yitkadesh Shimcha. Yahweh Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, we come unto you today as a fellowship, the world over. And we ask for you to allow your Ruach HaKodesh to work through us. First and foremost, we give you honor, for you are Kadosh HaKadosh. You are the Aleph and the Tav. All things that were created through you, through your Son. You created all things, Yahushua HaMashiach. And thus we were a part of that creation. We serve you, and our diligent desire to serve you has been interrupted by our proclivity for sin. We ask for you to forgive us. B'vakashah b'shem Yahushua. Forgive us for the sins we've committed against each other. And O Yah, forgive us for the sins we've committed against you and the sins that we've committed against ourselves. For once a man commits a sin against himself, what redemption does he have? He can't even know himself. Please, Yah, correct us. Send us on the right path. Let us understand Teshuvah so that we can be accepted amongst your people as Kadeshim, the set apart ones. O Yah, reach out into all the world and recover Natsarim Israel from all the four corners, those who were born in and those who were grafted, such as myself, that we can become one stick in Master Yahushua's hand, a rod with which to rule nations, a rod with which to establish the Malkut Shemayim. To order Rabbi Yahweh for allowing us to enter into your shalom, into your Shabbat. What was the Shabbat made for but for the Son of Man? For him to rest from his labors. You put our labors behind us. You set them at your feet, oh yeah. Please find our offering acceptable. B'Shem Yahushua. Amen. Amen. All right, shalom. We got someone else with us. Our usual two viewers. So, I'm going to get into the reading. Without further ado. All right. And we'll be starting at Melachim Aleph, or 1 Kings, chapter 18. When you get there, say hallelujah. I'm going to start, okay? And after many days it came to be that the word of Yahweh came to Eliyahu in the 3rd year, saying, Go, present yourself to Achab, and I give rain on the earth. Therefore Eliyahu went to present himself to Achab, and the scarcity of food in Shomron was severe. And Achab called Obadiah, who was over his house. Now Obadiah feared Yahweh exceedingly. And it came to be while Yisrael cut down the prophets of Yahweh that Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hidden them, 50 to a cave, and had fed them with bread and water. And Achab had said to Obadiah, Go into the land to all the springs of water and to all the wadis. It could be that we find grass to keep the horses and mules alive, and not have any livestock cut off. And they divided the land between them to pass over it. Achab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went one way by himself. And as Obadiah was on his way, then see, Eliyahu met him, and he recognized him and fell on his face and said, Is that you, Master Eliyahu? And he answered him, It is I. Go, say to your master Eliyahu is here. And he said, What have I sinned that you are giving your servant into the hand of Achab to kill me? As Yahweh your Elohim lives, there is no nation or reign where my master has not sent to look for you. And when they said, He is not there, he made that reign or nation swear that they could not find you. And now you say, Go, say to your master Eliyahu is here. And it shall be as soon as I am gone from you that the Spirit of Yahweh takes you away to a place I do not know. And I shall come to report to Achab, and when he does not find you, he shall kill you. But I, your servant, have feared Yahweh from my youth. Was it not reported to my master what I did when Yisrael killed the prophets of Yahweh, how I hid 100 of the men of the prophets of Yahweh, 50 to a cave, and fed them with bread and water? And now you say, Go to your master, Eliyahu is here, then he shall kill me. And Eliyahu said, As Yahweh of hosts lives before whom I stand, I shall indeed show myself to him today. Obadiah then went to meet Ahab and informed him, and Achab went to meet Eliyahu. And it came to be when Achab saw Eliyahu that Achab said to him, Is that you, O disturber of Israel? And he answered, I have not disturbed Israel, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commands of Yahweh, and you have followed the Baals. And now, send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Yisrael's table. And Achab then sent for all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets on Mount Carmel. And Eliyahu came to all the people and said, How long would you keep hoping hopping between two opinions. If Yahweh is Elohim, follow him. And if Baal, follow him. But the people answered him not a word. And Eliyahu said to the people, I alone have left the prophet of Yahweh, but the prophets of Baal are 450 men. Now let them give us 2 bulls, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves and cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, set no fire. And I prepare the other bull. I shall lay it on the wood, but set no fire. And you shall call on the name of your mighty one, and I call on the name of Yahweh. And the Elohim who answers by fire, he is Elohim. So all the people answered that and said, the word is good. And Eliyahu said to the prophets of Baal, choose 1 bull for yourselves and prepare it first. You are men. And call on the name of your mighty one, but set no fire. So they took the bull which was given them and prepared it and called it on the name of Baal from morning, evening until noon, each saying, O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice, and no one answered. And they leapt about the slaughter place which they had made. And it came to be at noon that Eliyahu taunted them and said, cry aloud, for he is a mighty one. He is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey. Or it could be that he is asleep and has to be awake. And they cried aloud and cut themselves, according to their ruling, with knives and spears until the blood gushed out on them. And it came to be when midday was past that they prophesied until the time of bringing the evening offering. But there was no voice, no one answered, and no one paying attention. And then Eliyahu said to the people, come closer to me. And all the people came closer to him. And he repaired the slaughter place of Yahweh that was broken down. And Eliyahu took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Yaakov, to whom the word of Yahweh had come, saying, Israel is your name. And with the stones he built a slaughter place in the name of Yahweh. And he made a trench around the slaughter place, large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. And he arranged the wood, cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood, and said, fill 4 jars with water, pour it on the ascending offering and on the wood. Then he said, do it a second time. And they did it a second time. And he said, do it a third time. And they did it a third time, and the water flowed around the slaughter place. And he filled the trench with water too. And it came to be at the time of bringing the evening offering that Eliyahu the prophet came near and said, Yahweh Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, let it be known today. You are Elohim in Israel, and I, your servant, have done all these matters by your word. Answer me, O Yahweh Zebaoth, answer me, and let this people know that you are a Yahweh Elohim, and that you shall turn their heads back to you again. Then the fire of Yahweh fell and consumed the ascending offering, and the wood and the stones and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. And all the people saw and fell on their faces and said, Yahweh, he is the Elohim. Yahweh is Elohim. And Eliyahu said to them, seize the prophets of Baal and do not let one of them escape. So they seized them. And Eliyahu brought them down to the Wadi Kishon and slew them there. And Eliyahu said to Achab, go up, eat and drink because of the sound of the noise of rain. And Achab went up to eat and drink. And Eliyahu went up to the top of Carmel, and he bowed down on the ground and put his face between his knees and said this to his servant, go up, please look closely towards the sea. So he went up and looked closely and said, not a speck. And 7 times he said, go again. And it came to be the 7th time that he said, see, a cloud as small as a man's hand is coming up out of the sea. And he said, go up, say to Achab, hitch up and go down before the rain stops you. And in the meantime, it came to be that the heavens became black with clouds and wind, and there was a heavy rain, while Achab rode and went to Israel. And the hand of Yahweh was on Eliyahu. He girded up his loins and ran ahead of Achab to the entrance of Israel. Ooh. Amazing. I say to you this day, it's a break between chapters. I say to you this day, make your decision. Make your decision. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is your Elohim, or mighty one. or Baal, which, if you'd like to look it up, go ahead in your Browns-Briggs Hebrew lexicon, or you can go into the Strong's Concordance. I have several other ancient lexicons that you can go into and see what Baal means. Baal means Lord. So you choose this day who you serve. Yahweh, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, or Baal, the Lord, the Ashtaroth, the Elohim of the groves. These people cut themselves to bleeding and wailing and dancing about. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? There's several Vudons who do the same thing. Hudons who do the same thing. Okay? There's several practices to this day that still practice cutting themselves for the dead and dancing around for their Baals, for Baals. Coincidentally enough, that's also where we get the word ball, especially in reference to a globe. As the globe sat atop the scepter of a ruler, indicating their total power. A globe is unending. Unfortunately, a circle has edges. A globe has no edges and it has no ending, indicating an eternal rule of that kingdom. But we know that men are not eternal. So who lived beyond these kingdoms in order to pass the spirit of iniquity and enmity for Yah's law on to the next generation and the next one? Who was it in this instance? Well, it was Ahab, and it was Jezebel, or Isabel. It's the same thing, same name. Jezebel. Can you imagine what her name means? What did I just tell you Baal means? Her name literally means of Baal. She was a priestess of Baal. This is on the nose right there in front of you. As long as they jump around, cutting themselves, wailing. Apparently their mighty one was asleep on vacation because ain't nothing happened. How many of these people sit around, cut themselves, wailing, carrying on? These false prophets that come out to you. Now the real prophets of the Most High have been locked away. They've been locked up in prison. They've been killed. They've been chased out of their land. And then these false prophets come to you promising you a double-double. They come to you promising you prosperity that Yah has in no way offered to you for disobedience. That is not the recompense for disobedience. They made you assured you in your rebellion. Let us not be so, Israel. Let it not be so. Instead, let us return. Let us return to the Elohim of our forefathers. If you're West Indian, Bahamian, Haitian, Jamaican, and even if you live in the United States and call yourself an African American, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you people from the Igbo tribe displaced to West Africa, from the ancient Levant, which is also Northeast Africa. You have a responsibility you have responsibility moving through your blood, pumping through your veins. Live up to that responsibility. Grab a hold of your genetic memory, grab a hold of your bloodline, and don't let go. Turn back to your Elohim, the Elohim of your forefathers. Put away the false Elohim of your fathers and the lies that you've been taught, and cling to the truth, the everlasting truth, that Yah does not change. And as such, his word. Therefore, the Torah has not been put away with. Instead, it is more applicable and more relevant today than it ever has been, because you find yourself deeper and more heavily subdued by these Ashtaroth and Baal, by the false practices of these that have been imposed and upon us and cultivated by those who rule over us. You telling me Menace, Ingram, and Christie are not versions, pale but poor man's versions of Ahab? who have allowed the worship of false deities and the veneration of men, of flesh, to enter into you, so that instead of listening to the words of Yah, you heed to the words of a man. Let it not be so, Israel. Find your redemption through Yahushua, and let his truth come through his words. We're going to move on to chapter 19. And don't worry, I know earlier I said we would go through the Shema. We'll do the Shema at the end. Hopefully, YouTube will allow me to stay up long enough, and you can take something with you. All right, here we go. Chapter 19. And when Achab reported to Yishmael all that Eliyahu had done, also he slew all the prophets with the sword. Yishmael sent a messenger to Eliyahu, saying, so let the mighty ones do to me, and more also, if I do not make one of them by tomorrow about this time. And he feared and rose up and ran for his life, and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Yehudah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree, and prayed that he might die, and said, it is enough now. Yahweh, take my life, for I am no better than my fathers. And he lay and slept under a broom tree, and see, a Melachim touched him and said to him, rise, eat. And he looked and saw by his head a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and turned and lay down. And the messenger of Yahweh came back on the second time and touched him and said, rise, eat, for the journey is too much for you. And he rose up, ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights as far as Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And there he went into a cave and spent the night there. And see, the word of Yahweh came to him and said to him, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahweh Zavahot, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. They have thrown down, they have killed your prophets with the sword, and I am left, I alone, and they seek my life to take it. And he said, go out and stand on the mountain before Yahweh. And see, Yahweh passed by, and a great and strong wind tearing the mountains and breaking the rocks in pieces before Yahweh. Yahweh was not with the wind, and after the wind an earthquake. Yahweh was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire. Yahweh was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it came to be, when Eliyahu heard it, that he wrapped his face in his robe, and he went out and stood in the cave opening. And see, a voice came to him and said, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahweh Zabaoth, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, and they have thrown down your slaughter places, killed your prophets with the sword, and I am left, I alone, and they seek my life to take it. And Yahweh said to him, go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and you shall go in and anoint Hazael as sovereign over Aram, and anoint Yehu, son of Nimshi, as sovereign over Israel, and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, of Abel Mecholah, as prophet in your place. And it shall be that whosoever escapes the sword of Hazael, Yehu does kill. And whoever escapes from the sword of Yehu, Elisha does kill. And I shall leave 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. And he went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he was with the 12. And Eliyahu passed him and threw his robe on him. And he left the oxen and ran after Eliyahu and said, please, let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I follow you. And he said to him, go, turn back, for what have I done to you? And he turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them and cooked their flesh, using the implements of the oxen, and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he rose and up and followed Eliyahu and became his servant. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. 19. Yisabel is sending out threats now. And we see Eliyahu now absolutely perfect in his trust of Yah, for he fears for his life. Well, if she killed hundreds of these men, who's going to save me? But look at who he's speaking to. He's talking to Yahweh Zavaot, Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh senses the fear in this man, and just as he did with Moshe, just as he appointed a mouthpiece for Moshe when he feared his own speech, the invalidity of his own speech, he appointed people for Eliyahu to be the fire that burns so quietly within him. Because whoever could find their way to be delivered out of Hazael's sword will run right into Yehu. And whoever somehow manages to find themselves delivered from Yehu, well, how are you going to get past Elisha? The man was plowing. The man was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him. And he was with the 12. Now that means the 12 rows, he's at the back, sitting on the back of the plow, or maybe he was plowing with the 12. Either way, man of honor. I need y'all to know this day. This is for you. This is for us. You see what Yahweh said? You see how many people in Israel he was going to lead? If you even compare that to the amount of the mixed multitude that left Mitzrayim or Egypt in the English tongue, there was over 2 million people that left Mitzrayim, Egypt. 2 million people. He says he's going to leave in Israel a few thousand, 7,000, I think it was. I'm sorry. I'm just looking for 7,000 who have not bowed. That's a remnant. That is a remnant. But all those who think that Yah's people are going to be transfigured or lifted up en masse the world over, and it's going to be billions, millions and billions of Christians getting lifted up into the sky to go live in heaven. This just does not track with the way Yah does things. It just doesn't. Those that will be redeemed will be a remnant. What is a remnant? A remnant is when someone finished cooking and all the food gone, and you come inside and you say, y'all got any more food? It smells so good. I got the aroma, the remnant of it I could smell. And you go to the pot and only the grease from what was in the soup, only the little bits of grain that was inside the rice is left. Just the flavor of it. That's what a remnant is. 7,000 men whose knees did not bow to Baal. So how many people you think in Israel would bowing to the Baals? Huh? Doing their little rosary. Doing the crucifix over their head. Got the crucifix on their neck. The weeping for Tammuz for 40 days. Celebrating Ishtar. And all the other fertility celebrations. Saturnalia. Samhain. All these things. 7,000 people. All these things that Yah never asked you to do. Yah's never asked you to do these. There's a judgment coming for this land. Whether you accept yourself as a part of Israel or not, whether you accept yourself as being the descendants of these individuals or not, there is a judgment coming. There's a judgment coming for this land of Grand Bahama and this land of the Bahamas. Believe it or not. You may not want to accept it. You may refuse it. But I present a challenge for you. Okay? From this moment on, you dance and wail You jump about and cut yourself and cut your hair and do whatever you need to do to please your Lord. Okay? And let's see if he acts on your behalf. Let's see if he turns everything around. Let's see if he gives you the double you've been looking for. Let's see if he gives you the prosperity, despite your disobedience, that he's been looking for. And what I'll do is I'll sit quietly and wait till after the wind crushes the rock. Wait till after the flood comes and tears away. Wait till after the fire. And I'm going to sit here and wait for that still voice that lets me know when to proceed. The voice of Yah speaks through him. Speaks through here directly into the actions of a man. I'll wait for that still voice. And let's see whose hell is real. There's a judgment coming to this land. And if you don't prepare yourself for it, you will be caught up in it. Shall we see what happened to Ishmael? Menachem Aleph, chapter 20. And if you guys out there, Kooks, Britt, you all want to go ahead and send a link over to Natan, that would be great, because I can't really reach out right now. So let's keep on with this momentum. Chapter 20. And Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, gathered all his army, and there were 32 sovereigns with him, with horses and chariots. And he went up and besieged Shomron and fought against it. And he sent messengers into the city to Achab, sovereign of Israel, and said to him, Thus said Ben-Hadad, silver and your gold are mine, and your wives and children, the best, are mine. And the sovereign of Israel answered and said, As you say, my master, O sovereign, I am yours, and all that I have. And the messengers came back and said, Thus speaks Ben-Hadad, saying, Indeed, I have sent to you, saying, Give me your silver and your gold, your wives and your children. But about this time tomorrow I shall send my servants to you, and they shall search your house and the houses of your servants. And it shall be that whatever is pleasing in our eyes, they shall lay a hold of and take it. And the sovereign of Israel called all the elders of the land and said, Please, know and see the evil this one seeketh. For he sent to me for my wives and for my children and for my silver and for my gold, and I did not refuse him. And all the elders and all the people said to him, Do not listen nor agree. So he said to the messengers of Ben-Hadad, Say to my master the sovereign, all that you sent forth to your servant the first time I shall do, but this I am unable to do. And the messengers went and brought back word to him, and Ben-Hadad sent to him and said, The mighty ones do so to me, and more also, if enough dust is left of Shomron for a handful for each of the people to follow me. And the sovereign of Israel answered and said, Speak. Him who girds on his armor should not boast like him who lays it down. And it came to be when this word was heard, as he and the sovereigns were drinking in the booths, and he said to his servants, Set yourselves. So they set themselves against the city. And see, a prophet came near to Achab, sovereign of Israel, saying, Thus said Yahweh, have you seen all this great company? See, I am giving into your hand today, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. And Achab said, By whom? And he said, Thus said Yahweh, by the young rulers of the provinces. And he said, Who opens the attack? And he answered, You. And he mustered the young rulers of the provinces, and there was 232. And after them he mustered all the people of Israel, 7,000. And they went out at noon, while Ben-Hadad and the 32 sovereigns helping him were getting drunk in the booths. And the young rulers of the provinces went out first, and Ben-Hadad sent out, and they reported to him, saying, Men have come out of Shomron. Then he said, If they have come out for peace, seize them alive. And if they come out for battle, seize them alive. So these young rulers of the provinces went out of the city with the army which followed them, and each struck his man, so the Arameans fled, and Israel pursued them. And Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, escaped on a horse with horsemen. And the sovereign of Israel went out and struck the horses and chariots, and struck the Arameans, a great smiting. The prophet came to the servant of Israel and said to him, go strengthen yourself and know and see what you should do. For at the turn of the year, the servant of Aram is coming up against you. And the servants of the servant of Aram said to him, they are mighty ones of the hills. That is why they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain. Are we not stronger than they? Now do this. Take away the sovereigns, each from his position, and put officers in their place. And number an army like the army that you have lost, horse for horse and chariot for chariot, and let us fight against them in the plain. Are we not stronger than they? And he listened to their voice and did so. And it came to be at the turn of the year that Ben-Hadad mustered the Arameans and went up to Aphek to fight Israel. And the children of Israel were mustered and were fed, and they went against him. The children of Israel encamped before them like two little flocks of goats, while the Arameans filled the land. There came near a man of Elohim and spoke to the servant of Israel and said, thus said Yahweh, because the Arameans have said Yahweh is the Elohim of the hills, but he is not Elohim of the valleys, therefore I shall give this great company into your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. And they encamped opposite each other for 7 days. And it came to be that on the 7th day, the battle was joined. And the children of Israel struck 100,000 foot soldiers of the Arameans in 1 day. And those that were left fled to Aphek into the city. And the wall fell on 27,000 of the men who were left. And Ben-Hadad fled and went into the city, into an inner room. And the servant said to him, see now, we have heard that the sovereigns of the house of Israel are lovingly committed sovereigns. Please, let us put sackcloth around our waists and ropes around our heads and go out to the servant of Israel. It could be that he spares your life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins and put ropes around their heads and came to the servant of Israel and said, your servant Ben-Hadad said, please let me live. And he said, is he still alive? He's my brother. And the men divided and they quickly grasped it and said, your brother Ben-Hadad. And he said, go bring him. So Ben-Hadad came out to him, and he let him come up on the chariot. And Ben-Hadad said to him, the cities which my father took from your father I have returned. And I set up marketplaces for yourself in Damascus, as my father did at Shomeron. And Achab said, I send you away with this covenant. And he made a covenant with him and sent him away. And a certain man of the sons of the prophet said to his neighbor by the word of Yahweh, strike me, please. But the man refused to strike him. Then he said to him, because you have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, see, as you leave me, a lion shall strike you. And when he left him, a lion found him and struck him. And he found another man and said, strike me, please. So the man struck him, striking and wounding. Then the prophet went and waited for the sovereign by the way and disguised himself with a bandage on his eyes. And the sovereign, as the sovereign passed by, he cried out to the sovereign and said, your servant went out into the midst of the battle. And see, a man came over and brought a man to me, and he said, guard this man. If he should in any way be missing, your life shall be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver. And it came to be, while your servant was busy there, he was gone. And the sovereign of Israel said to him, your judgment is right. You yourself have decided it. And he quickly removed the bandage from his eyes, and the sovereign of Israel recognized him as one of the prophets. And he said to him, thus said Yahweh, because you have let slip out of your hand a man whom I put under the ban, therefore your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people. And the sovereign of Israel went to his house embittered and displeased, and came to Shomeron. Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? You see that measure that he meted out? This man, Achab, was so concerned for his life that he would say anything to preserve it. He would do anything to preserve it. And above all, after seeing all the works of Yah, and seeing Yah give into his hand an immeasurable amount of men who came up against him, he still feared. He feared flesh over Yah. For the simple, just for the point, for the reason of disproving their ignorance. Okay? just for that purpose alone, because they decided that, oh, Yah is the Elohim of the hills. He's the Elohim of the mountains. This must be who this Yod He Vav He is. Is it? No. Where would they get that misconception? Well, clearly, most of Israel was worshiping Baals, Ashtaroth, which brought upon this judgment in the first place. These men walk in, they lose the initial battle, and so they decide upon themselves, oh, the Ashtaroth that they worship, more powerful than the Ashtaroth we worship. But guess what? Let's change the venue, and our Ashtaroth will have our Elohim or our gods, false gods, our Baals will have an advantage. This is much likened to when we at the foot of Horeb. We're in the sixth count, the sixth Shabbat of the seventh Shabbat count before conclusion of Shavuot, where Moshe went up the mountain 40 days, 40 nights. And before he could even be done with what he was doing, they were down there casting a golden calf, a holy cow, Apis bull from Mitzrayim, and putting the name of Yod He Vav He on it. See, it's one thing to worship the Elohim, but to worship the Elohim and to ascribe to them the wonders and the characteristics of the one and only Elohim of creation, man, that is an effrontery. That is an effrontery to do anything but use the name of Yahweh. It's an effrontery. It's apostasy. Just in case anyone would attribute their victory to any other El. Yah said, go out and I give these people into your hands so that you know it's me. The man made a covenant with Ben-Hadad. We see any other instance of this? Oh, yes, that's right. Melech Shaul, the first king of Israel, head and shoulders above everybody. Yah said, go in, subdue, kill all man, woman, beast, and child, and anything you find, burn it in the fire. What did the man do? The opposite, and became friends with the leader until Shemuel himself had to come and divide the man up with a sword. And it was only then that he understood. And look, by his own ruling, somebody secreted himself. The prophet came to a man and said, smite me, make it look like I got hit, make it look like I was in the war, covered himself, disguised himself, and asked this man, according to his own edicts, according to what he knows to be right, how you'd feel if this man say, hold on to this dude, and, I must hold on to him, I must watch him. But if he gone, I either got to pay it in silver or with my own life. And where I was out doing this and that, you know how Tyrion says, man, I go on doing this and that, running errands. And when I look around, the buddy was gone. What you think is good, man? He said, what you just said is good. You should pay it in silver. You should pay it according to your own life. He said, oh, and then yuck off the disguise. Oh, you're a prophet. Yeah. And you see that same ruling you going by? It was just. Yes, that's the most just thing you ever said. Now, Yahweh Zabaoth, Yahweh of hosts, is going to hold you to that same reason. So as a result, the kingdom is torn from you this day. Another will rule in your stead, and you're going to give your life to replace the life that was supposed to be taken. Because a man was supposed to die here today. A king was supposed to die here today. And if it ain't going to be the king I decide, then you'd made the decision for me then. You can take his place. I wonder if that's what Christians call standing in the gap. There ain't no standing in no gap for nobody. You are responsible for what you know. You receive the lashes. We're not in the time, Jesse says in Jeremiah 16, we're not in the time when the fathers eat sour grapes and blunt their children's teeth. No, we don't have time for that no more. You eat sour grapes, you can put your own teeth on edge. It's your teeth that can suffer. Ain't no more subsequent generations to be inheriting your generational sins, your generational curses. Ain't no more generations to come for that. Because if you notice who went out to lead the battle were the young ones, the youth, youthful leaders who have put away the apostasy and abomination of their forefathers, who have put away the Ashtaroth and the Baals, who have put away the world and flesh. Those who know the truth and have the zeal and the vigor to walk in it, that have the resilience to stand up to a world that refuses to acknowledge it. I'm calling to you. Those who know that they've been called, those who hear the quiet, still voice in the night, those who hear the quiet, still voice in their hearts, and it calls out to you ceaselessly, night and day. Wake up, stand up and walk. Let us do it as a nation. Let us do it as a community. Let us do it as servants of the Most High. Whereas the time will come when the nations will surround us. The time will come when those who you call friend and family betray you. The time will come when leaders who have practiced the abominations of the nations around them against the edicts of Yahweh, expressly against what Yahweh has forbade, they will come against us and stand against us in the time of the end. This is not going to be any different. And if we rely on flesh, we shall not be redeemed. We shall not find redemption. If we rely on Yahweh, He will bring the fire down to accept our offering. He'll consume dust and stone with the fervor of His heat. Lick up the water in the trenches. Because they don't serve real mighty ones. They don't serve Baals that have any power. They serve wood and stone and molten metal, molten images, graven images. They serve their own flesh and hunger. Whilst the man can survive for 40 days on a single meal, you will not break the people of the Most High. You will instead bring us even closer to our Elohim. Don't you understand that? Israel is a people who have overcome with the Most High. You cannot impose sanctions on us. You can't starve us out. You can't kill us out. Around wailing to your false gods to have them do anything to us, for they are powerless. As are you, and all that follow you, and all your edicts, your sanctions, your tables of nations. Meaningless. Vanity. Why do the heathen rage and imagine a vain thing to make war with the Most High? Oh, goodness. My brothers and sisters, Mishpakan, Evarim. Stick with this. It's the only thing that's going to last. All right. We're going to go on to Tehillim, the Tefillah. You're going to Tehillim 55, 56, and 57. That's Psalms 55, 56, and 57. All right? Ready? A nice break to give Yah His praise. Give ear to my prayer, O Elohim, and do not hide yourself from my plea. Give heed to me and answer me. I wonder and moan in my complaint because of the noise of the enemy, because of the outcry of the wrong. For they bring down wickedness upon me, and in wrath they hate me. My heart is pained within me, and the frights of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling have come upon me, and shuddering covers me. And I said, who would give me wings like a dove? I would fly away and be at rest. See, I would wander far off. I would lodge in the wilderness. Selah. I would hasten my escape from the raging wind and storm. Confuse, O Yahweh, divide their tongues, for I saw violence and strife in the city. Day and night they go around it on its walls. Wickedness and trouble are also in the midst of it. Covetings are in its midst. Oppression and deceit do not vanish from its streets. It is not an enemy who reproaches me. That I could bear. Nor one who hates me, who is making himself great against me. And I could hide from him. But it was you, a man my equal, my companion and friend. We took sweet counsel together. We walked to the house of Elohim in the throne. Let death come upon me. Let them go down in Sheol. Come upon them. Let them go down into Sheol alive. For evil is in their dwellings, in their midst. I call upon Elohim, and Yahweh saves me. Evening and morning, and at noon I complain and moan. And he hears my voice. He has redeemed my life in peace from the battle against me, for there were many against me. And even he who sits enthroned from of old does hear and afflict them. Selah, those with whom there are no changes, those who do not fear Elohim. He has put forth his hand against those who were at peace with him. He has broken his covenant. His mouth was smoother than curds, yet in his heart is fighting. His words were softer than oil, but they are drawn swords. Cast your burden on Yahweh, and let him sustain you. He never allows the righteous to be shaken. For you, O Elohim, do bring them down to the pit of destruction. Man of blood and deceit do not reach half their days, but I trust in you. We trust in Elohim, who stays true to his covenants and never breaks them, unlike those of flesh, who make covenants and renege on them immediately for the sake of simple pleasures and temporary satiations. You tell me a single. You go ahead, put it in the notes, send me an email, anything you need to do. You find me a single contract that this government and any nation, NGO, we've ever made a contract with that has upheld the contract that we've made with them. Then you consider that most, if not all, of the West Indian Bahamian people are descendants either from those that were lost in the diaspora of 70 AD and found their way to West Africa and into the transatlantic slave trade with no one to redeem them, no bond. Isaiah 40. Look it up. Yeshayahu 40. Go and look it up and tell me who it's talking about. Okay? You can find it in all the prophets. We can get to that eventually. You find this instance where any of these nations that we've made contracts with have upheld their end of the contract. Then consider your lineage. Consider this covenant and contract, and consider whether or not we have lived up to it. Consider whether or not the people who stood at the foot of the descendants of the people who stood at the foot of the Mount of Horeb and received the words of Yah have reneged themselves. Then why would any nation remain true to any covenant or contract they made with us if we refuse to remain true to the covenant and contract that our fathers made with the Most High, Yahweh Zabaoth? Does it make sense? No. If you don't keep covenants with Yah don't have no reason to hold these people true to the covenants they keep with you. Did Yah respect the covenant that I have made with your boy, Ben Hadad? Yah don't care about that. Yah does not care about that. What ended? Something ended? Did we end the stream? I don't think the stream ended. I'm still getting going. I'm sorry. All right, we're gonna go into 56. Show me favor, O Elohim, for a man would swallow me up. These are good prayers to say as well, after what we've seen. These good redemptive prayers. And I like to stay within the 50s. The 50s, from chapter 50 to chapter 60, 61 in Tehillim or Psalms is really an outcry and a repentance. You know, please, Yah, forgive me. Please, Yah, save me. Despite all of my my fallings and shortcomings, my blood guilt. These are very good for Teshuvah prayers, just so you know. Show me favor, O Elohim, for a man would swallow me up. Fighting all day long, he oppresses me. My enemies would swallow me up all day long, for many are fighting against me, O Most High. In the day I am afraid, I trust in you. In Elohim, whose word I praise. In Elohim I have trusted. Do not fear. What could flesh do to me? All day long they twist my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They stir up strife, they hide, they watch my steps, as they lie in wait for my life. Because of wickedness cast them out. Put down the peoples in displeasure, O Elohim. You have counted my wanderings. You put my tears into your bottle. Are they not in your book? My enemies turn back in the day I call. This I know, because Elohim is for me. In Elohim, whose word I praise, and Yahweh, whose word I praise, and Elohim I have trusted. I do not fear. What could man do to me? On me, Elohim, are your vows, and I render praises to you. For you have delivered my life from death, my feet from stumbling, that I might walk before Elohim in the light of the living. Hallelujah. Finally, show me favor, O Elohim, show me favor. For in you my being is taking refuge, and in the shadow of your wings I take refuge until destruction passes by. I cry out to the Most High Elohim, to El, who is perfecting all matters for me. He sends from the heavens and saves me. He reproaches the one who would swallow me up. Selah. Elohim sends forth his loving commitment and his truth. My being is in the midst of lions. I lie amongst those who breathe fire, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and tongue is a sharp sword. Be exalted, O Elohim, above the heavens. Let your esteem be above all the earth. They have prepared a net for my footsteps. My being was bowed down. They have dug a pit for me. They fell into the midst of it. Selah. My heart is firm, O Elohim, my heart is firm. I sing and praise. Awake my esteem. Awake harp and lyre. Awake the dawn. I praise you among all the peoples, O Yahweh. I sing to you among the nations. For your loving commitment is great up to the heavens, and your truth under the clouds. Be exalted above the heavens, O Elohim. Let your esteem be above all the earth. Arakata Elohim Kol Yakol. Only you are able, Yah. Only you are able. We're going to find our way over to the Brit Hadash, or the renewed covenant. Please, let's try to break away from the practice of calling it the New Testament. A testament is something that someone leaves once they are dead. I leave my will and testament, my last will and testament. A testament is unilateral, a statement. I can testify. Yah is not dead, and neither is his word or his law. This is bilateral. It is a covenant. It is an agreement. You must enter in with full knowledge and understanding. The same way Yah understands you, even down to the count of the hairs on your head, is the way he wishes for you to desire to know him. That is a covenant. That is a contract. And it's the only reason we're alive today. Because Yah does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And as our fourth pillar of the Natsarim belief, Yah does not lie. He always does what he says he will do and keeps his covenants to 1,000 generations of them that keep his Torah. That means for the very mere Torah that our parents were able to preserve despite the lies and the iniquity and the apostasy of their forefathers, that little bit of knowledge, that little bit of obedience that they passed on to us is what has preserved us this day. That's allowed Yah to let his Ruach HaKodesh act in our lives and lead us along the truth. Lead us to the path of redemption. Yahusha. Let us hear what our Moshiach has to say for us today. Shall we? Lucas 14. Lucas 14. We're a little off, I think, because I think we did two. Yeah, I think we did 2 chapters last week instead of 3. I'm not sure, because we shouldn't be on 14, but we ended with Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. Blessed is he who's coming in the name of Yahweh. And that comes from Tehillim 118:26, if you want to look up the reference to that. There's nothing that Yahushua said that was not already said by the Nevi'im and the Keftarim or the Torah proper, the Tanakh. It's already been said. Everything he said, Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Keftarim. Okay? All right. Now, we're on Lucas 14. Oh, that's a shame. Tell her to tune back in. If she has anything to say, you can give her my WhatsApp and let her text it on WhatsApp. I'll pick it up on the WhatsApp and respond to it on, share the question and respond to it on live. So if she wants to tune back in and have some back and forth response. We got up to 4 people today, so that's wonderful. Lucas 14. Y'all with me? Just as I say that, 2 more people drop off. Me back to 2. All right. Ready? Numbers don't matter, though. Trust me, numbers don't matter. I think we learned that today right? I mean, the Arameans had conscripted others from around, and they were like the sand on the seashore compared to Israel, who looked like a small herd of goats. And somehow, some way, Yah delivered this entire nation of people into the hands of but a few. Being outnumbered 20-1 means nothing. When Yah says that one man should put 10,000 to flight, 2 should put 10,000 to flight, 1 put 1,000, 2 to 10,000. So you could have 20-1 odds. That don't really work in your favor, bro. It don't work in the world's favor to have the numbers. It's better, rather than be united in a lie, let us separate ourselves with the truth. Join me, Lucas chapter 14, and so we begin. And it came to be, as he went into the house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees to eat bread on the Shabbat, that they were watching him closely, And see, there was a certain man before him, suffering dropsy. And Yahushua, responding, spoke to those learned in the Torah and Pharisees, saying, is it right to heal on the Shabbat? But they were silent. So taking hold of him, he healed him and let him go. To them he said, which of you, having a donkey or an ox that's fallen into a pit, shall immediately pull him out on the Shabbat? And they were unable to answer him regarding these matters. And he spoke a parable to those who were invited, when he noted how they chose the best places, saying to them, when you're invited by anyone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in the best place, lest one more distinguished than you be invited by him. And he who invited you and him come and say to you, give this one place. And then you begin with shame to take the last place. Rather, when you are invited, go and sit down in the last place, so that when he who invited you comes, he shall say to you, friend, come up higher. Then you shall have esteem in the presence of those who sit at the table with you. For everyone who is exalting himself shall be humbled, and he who is humbling himself shall be exalted. And he also said to him who invited him, when you give a dinner or supper, do not ask for your friends, nor your brothers, nor your relatives, nor your rich neighbors, lest they also invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite poor ones, crippled ones, lame ones, and blind ones, and you shall be blessed, because they do not have to repay you. They do not have to repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. And when one of those who sat at the table with him heard this, he said to him, Baruch is he who eats bread in the reign of Elohim. But he said to him, a certain man gave a great supper and invited many. And he sent a servant at supper time to say to those who were invited, Come, for all is now ready. But one by one began making excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a field. I need to go and see it. I ask you to have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I am going to try them out. I ask you have me excused. And another said, I have married a wife. Because of this, I am unable to come. And the servant came and reported this to his master. Then the master of the house, being wroth, said to the servant, Hurry out into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in here the poor and the crippled, and lame and blind. And the servant said, Master, it is done as you commanded, and still there is room. And the master said to the servant, Go out into the street corners and hedges, and compel them to come in, so that my house is filled. For I say to you that none of those men who were invited shall taste my supper. And large crowds were going with him, and turning, said to them, If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, and wife and children, and brothers and sisters, and his own life too, he is unable to be my talk. And whoever does not bear his stake and come up after me is unable to be my talk. For who of you, wishing to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is unable to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was unable to finish. Or what sovereign going to fight against another sovereign does not sit down first and take counsel whether he is able to take with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20? And if not, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace. So then, every one of you who does not give up all that he has is unable to be my taught one. The salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, and with what shall it be seasoned? It is not fit for land, nor for manure. They throw it out. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Boy, I got some conviction there. I didn't want to break out in tears in front of all y'all, all three of you. You hear that? This is of our lives. You don't aim for the best for yourself. Even when it comes to what you own. If Yah is giving you shelter, don't save up for a mansion. Thank Yah for the shelter that he's given you. Yah has given you clothing. Don't aim for better clothing. Yah has given us chana. Notice I said chana and not grace. I really need for you all to understand the Hebraic context of chana, what we in English erroneously call grace. Chana is the same forwards as it is backwards. An ambigram, yes, but words have meaning in Hebrew. And the simple structure and form of that word and the way it's pronounced and the way it's used is for reciprocity. I give and you give. And if each of us are giving, no one is taking. When you serve the least of these, it's as if you are serving Yahushua himself. And the reward that is given unto you is not one that man can see, nor flesh can weigh, but instead is the reward that waits for you in the Malkut Shemayim. You will be rewarded by He that you gave reward to. An equal measure. In fact, an unequal measure, because the mere gift of our lives is more than we could ever pay for, which is why Yahushua was staked. For the sake of that life that you live right now. So that we don't exalt ourselves, but instead exalt Him in our ways, not just with our mouths. That we humble ourselves. That we reach we don't just reach out to those who will accept us, but instead we reach out to those that refuse us, that hate us for the sake of His name. We don't reach out to those who can give us our reward in public, who can give us a recompense for all of our efforts, but instead we reach out to those who truly need it the most. For whom fried dumplings are a meal. I was humiliated last night, and I'm going to give this a little bit of testimony so y'all know what a testimony is. Last night, we for the first time in a while, I was ahead of the game in the preparations for Shabbat. Got everything together, made a stew. The stew came out before sundown. Everything was good. We go to eat. I even took a few bites first. And we made fried dough to go with the stew. And for whatever reason, Yah made a reveal. Upon taking up his portion, Armando found a bug in the stew, a dead bug, rendering the entirety, according to Torah, rendering the entire soup inedible. Now, I know many of you will go ahead and say, well, nothing Yah has made is unclean. Pray over it. Or, we don't do that. We follow as it is. Nothing that goes there. Oh, what's the one? It's not what goes into a man's mouth that makes him unclean, but it's what proceeds forth from his mouth that makes him unclean. A misconception. But in the same vein that Yah said, eat crawfish, pig, and all these other things. And if you were to find a dead bug or swarms inside your flour, you don't consume it. That's what we were obedient to. And because of that obedience is able to allow me to see the remez in this message right now. That was in our soup. That was in our stew. We are proud of ourselves for being ready and prepared for Shabbat, but it wasn't ours. It belonged to the poor and needy. If it was extended to them, everything we have, everything we bring into our mouths as sustenance does not belong to us. Instead, it belongs to Yah. And it's only through chana, reciprocity, between Yah and us, between Yahushua and his people, that we're able to partake in it. What about those who are suffering? There's no reward in it for us. Right? Why invite a late stage syphilitic into your home? He can make you dirty, even though you just used that same message to say I should have eaten a soup with bug in it. Yeah. If what goes into your mouth can't make you unclean, then who you're around, you know what I mean? Who you invite to sup with you, how can that make you unclean? This is the meaning of this is the true meaning of the parable of Kippah on the rooftop, that nothing I have made is unclean. You look at the leper, you look at the despot, the despondent and the poor, and you look at them as being unclean at the same level of the pigs, the same level of the roaches, untouchables. But yet, with the men who hold themselves up in the highest office, who are murderers, pedophiles, adulterers, fornicators, false prophets, those that consume the abominable in the eyes of the Most High, the conch and the crawfish and the crab, who have made themselves unclean and purposed themselves against the will of Yah, we embrace them. They give us stature and status. We let it be seen that we are shaking hands with them, that we speak with them, that we converse with them, that we can sit down and have coffee with them, and everyone could look and see and look upon us. Ooh, he with such and such in this Grand Bahama, where status is everything. Status is everything. People make you guarantees just so they can make a guarantee. And no one here is a guarantor of a loan. No one repays that which was given to them in Grand Bahama. The object of what you were given. Find a way not to give back what is owed. These are the people that we venerate and hold in highest esteem, and we drive through the ghetto. We drive through the poorest parts of back of town, Hudson. I mean, people were taking a shortcut through Hudson after Dorian. People were driving around to take pictures of others' destruction and dismemberment. Every soup kitchen that came down here should have been empty. Because every house that had 4 walls should have been full. There should have been no use for a soup kitchen. The world kitchen should have came down here, made how many tons of food, and had to take it back with them. I hope the same conviction rests upon you, my friends, my family. I hope you get this parable too. Yah has invited us to something. And he sent his servants out to collect the very best of us. You think it's not Yah who has allowed Minas to hold the office that he's held? You don't think all these MPs have been allowed to do the things that they're doing and to stand in the positions that they're standing, and these false prophets and pastors and preachers, economists, all the people you see the world over have been allowed to stand in the positions that they are standing, that they are sitting, sit on the thrones that they are occupying, simply by Yah's will, just so he can see and test these men. And women. By this standard, they do not pass. He's called out to them and they got too much going on. Man, I just started my business. I can't give up everything. I just got promotion. I can't give up everything. I just get married, give up everything. I mean, think about your Ifak warriors, yeah? Your Afrocentric warriors, your Nyabingi warriors. Much as they speak of Afrocentricity and as much as they speak of repatriation, do they live it? Or they also live in the European lifestyle? Well, they also living under Rome and embracing the luxuries of this life and the iniquities of this flesh. Born in sin and shaped in iniquity. All of we. Let's be true to our words and walk in the way that in the fashion that we know to walk. Let's move on to chapter 15. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming to him to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes grumbled, saying, "This one receives sinners and eats with them." And he spoke with this parable to them, saying, "What man among you, having 100 sheep and having lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go up after the one which is lost until he finds it? And having found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And having come home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say to you that in the same way there shall be more joy in the heaven, one sinner repenting, than over 99 righteous ones who need no repentance. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? Having found it, she calls friends and neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin which I lost. I say to you, in the same way there is joy in the presence of the messengers of Elohim over one sinner repenting. And he said, A certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods falling to me. And he divided his livelihood between them. And not many days after, the younger son, having gathered all together, went away to a distant country, and there wasted his goods with loose living. When he had spent all, there arose a severe scarcity of food throughout that land, and he began to be in need. And he went and joined himself to one of the citizens of that country. And he sent him to his fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to fill his stomach with the pods with which he was longing to fill his stomach with the pods which the pigs were eating, and no one gave to him. But having come to himself, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I am perishing with hunger? Having risen, I shall go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against the heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And having risen, he went to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against the heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and sandals on his feet. And bring the fattened calf here and slaughter it. And let us eat and rejoice, because this son of mine was dead and is alive again, and he was lost and is found. And they began to rejoice. His older son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. Having called one of the servants, he asked him what this meant. And he said to him, Your brother has come, and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf, because he received him back in health. And he was wroth and would not go in. So his father came out and pleaded with him. And answering, he said to his father, See, these many years I have been serving you, and I have never transgressed a command of yours. But to me you have never given a young goat, so I could rejoice with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with whores, you slaughtered the fatted calf for him. Then he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all I have is yours. And we had to rejoice and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive, and was lost and is found. In the context that we just came with from chapter 14, you see the significance of this? That those who are in the deepest part of their plight, suffering the most, the blind, the poor, the sick, the lame, the leper, the widow, and the orphan, they've already suffered the consequences of their iniquity. They are in the midst of suffering. If now you extend the kindness and the truth of Yah towards them in their lowest state, and place that robe around them, and put the esteem around them of one who has returned, a brother who has returned, a brother who was lost and now found. I have a brother who was murdered in 1994, February 18th. If that man walked through the door right now, my heart would fail me. Tears would come to my eyes, and I would fall upon his neck as well. And praise Yah that my brother that was once dead is now alive. That's how we felt when his son, my nephew, showed up in the spitting image of his father. Reach out to the lowest of us. lowest amongst us in the same way. Reach out if they were a lost brother. You suffering. You have suffered. Know the joy and truth of Yah. Know the peace and comfort of entering into his shalom. Entering into his Shabbat. This should be a feast day. We should have everything ready on Friday. We should be able to go out today and share the good news with people and bring them in to feast with us, to sup with us. That those who are indigent and poor and sick, who have almost lost their way, but hold on to the smallest belief simply because they're granted life each and every day that passes. They still hold on to the smallest emunah, the smallest faith. It's enough to move mountains. Let me ask you, what say you about the man who has all that he desires? How likely is his heart to be turned towards Elohim? A man who is rich beyond measure, why would he care about you, what you have to give him, when he can provide for himself? I tell you now, it's much, much harder for the man who has been blessed with all that he needs to find that empathy, to understand the empathy of those who have not, to enter into this Malkut Shemayim, to know this truth. Because without obedience, they have experienced much blessing, but only as far as their flesh can take. The light that is in their eyes is darkness. If their light be darkness, oh, how pervasive that darkness is. Chapter 16. And he also said to his taught one, there was a certain rich man who had a manager, and he was accused to him. Pardon me. And he also said to his taught ones, there was a certain rich man who had a manager, and he was accused to him and wasting his possessions. So having called him, he said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, for you are no longer able to be manager. And the manager said within himself, what shall I do? For my master is taking the managership away from me. I am unable to dig. I am ashamed to beg. I know what I shall do, that when I am removed from the managership, they might receive me into their houses. And calling every one of his master's debtors to him, he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then to another he said, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. And the master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly, because the sons of this age are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. And I say to you, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they shall receive you into everlasting dwellings. He who is trustworthy in what is least is trustworthy also in much, and he who is unrighteous in what is least is unrighteous also in much. If therefore you have not been trustworthy in the unrighteous mammon, who shall entrust you to the truth? Or entrust to you the truth? And if you have not been trustworthy in what another man's, who shall give you what is your own? No servant is able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cling to the one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon. And the Pharisees who loved silver also heard this, and they were sneering at him. So he said to them, you are those who declare yourself righteous before men, but Elohim knows your hearts, because what is highly thought of men among men is an abomination in the sight of Elohim. The Torah and the prophets are until Yochanan. Since the reign of Elohim is being announced and everyone is doing violence upon it. And it is easier for the heaven and the earth to pass away than for one tittle of the Torah to fall. Everyone putting away his wife and marrying another commits adultery, and everyone marrying her who is put away from her husband commits adultery. But there was a certain rich man who used to dress in purple and fine linen and lived luxuriously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Eleazar, being covered with sores, who was placed at his gate, and longing to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Indeed, even the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to be that the beggar died, and was carried by messengers to the bosom of Abraham. And the rich man also died and was buried. While suffering tortures in Sheol, having lifted up his eyes, he saw Abraham far away, and Eleazar in his bosom. Crying out, he said, Abba, Abraham, have compassion on me, and send Eleazar to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am suffering in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in life you received your good, and likewise Eleazar the evil. But now he's comforted and you are suffering. Besides all this, between us you are a great chasm. Between us and you are a great chasm has been set, so that those who wish to pass from here to you are unable, nor do those from there pass to us. And he said, Then I beg you, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, lest they also come to this place of torture. And Abraham said to him, They have Moshe and the prophets. Let them hear them. And he said, No, Abba Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they shall repent. But he said to him, If they do not hear Moshe and the prophets, neither would they be persuaded, even if one should rise from the dead. I know a lot of you were thrown off at the beginning of that, because I was thrown off a little bit too. Remember, this is a restored syntax. So the English used in this is more truer to the Hebrew than it is to the English understanding or alliteration. The forgiveness of debts. He tried to gain favor with his master. The manager tried to gain favor with his master by forgiving a portion of the debts that were owed. And therefore, the master himself gained favor with those that owed him. And in this, he tried to work his way back into his master's good graces. Very shrewd thing to do, but it works. But how many of us who claim to follow this, claim to follow Yahusha, that claim, or you may call him Jesus Christ, some still calling him, I'm not going to persecute anyone for the part of the walk that they're on, the part of the path they're on. I would just encourage you to walk truly. If you happen to call Yahusha Jesus Christ and you know him in your heart and you have an experiential relationship with him, how often do you forgive the debts that people owe you? The way that this man, who did not have Elohim in his heart, forgave the debts of his master's debtors to gain the favor of his master. Do you forgive those who are indebted to you to gain the favor of Yah? Or do you hold grudges and debts and grumble to yourself and say, if only I had this with this one to owe me, then I would be able to pay you. If I only had this one to owe me, then I wouldn't look like such a sorry manager. It ain't my fault, it's their fault. You ain't passing. How many of us pass the buck? Do our leaders do it? Yeah. Dwayne Sands, the medical chief, big doctor in charge, stepped down. You think he was the only one involved? For every finger that's pointing, there's 3 back at you. These little things that Yah has given us to be trustworthy in are tests to see if what he will give us as a result of our obedience will be appreciated and fruitful, made fruitful, compounded upon. He's not just going to give you a talent if you've already proven that you can't handle a shekel. You're not going to get a talent of silver if you can't handle a shekel of bronze. And that's just what it is. Now, do we look at others who can't handle their shekel and scoff and scorn them? No. No, we reach out to them. That's the very main purpose of what we're saying here. Reach out. People worry about being able to keep the Torah and the mitzvot, 613 mitzvot, and say it's impossible to do so. And therefore, they say it's been done away with. They've forgiven their own debts to Yah, simply so that they don't have to pay them. Because they understand that it's immeasurable. But is it immeasurable? Are the 10 words that far away from you that you cannot keep them or understand them? Are the 613 mikvahs that help us to understand how to direct those 10 words? Okay. The first 4 being our relationship with Yahweh, and the next 6 being our relationship with one another. These which were condensed into 2 by Yahusha for better understanding. Love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all your being, with all your might, and love your brother as you love yourself. That's a condensation of the 10 words. The 613 mitzvahs are the expounding of those 10 words, the elucidation of those 10 words. You say it's impossible for you to keep that, so it must have been done away with. Yet Adam and Chava in the garden had one. And in that one, they fell. In that one, they were inconsistent. And you think now us, as their descendants, who are not made in the form of Yahweh, we are not shaped in his image. Adam and Chava were. We have belly buttons. We're shaped in iniquity and born in sin, conceived in sin. They were given little and fell. And as such, Adam lost the dominion of the earth. Everything we've seen is as a result of that. Civilization is the byproduct of sin. Yahusha was sent to reclaim that dominion after many who came before him failed also. Now we worry to ourselves. It's easier to put away the Torah, because with that understanding, with accepting that which was written into your blood at the foot of Mount Horeb, you understand in the part of you that you don't even fully identify with, in your genetic memory, that you're taking on the responsibility of much. Yes, faith and grace. That's what they say. I'm saved by grace and not by works. Are you saved? Are any of us saved? Have we been redeemed from this world? Or do we still suffer underneath it? With accepting Yahusha as Mashiach and following in his way, which is the Torah, and being obedient to his Father and our Father, we have promised to us redemption. You're not saved yet. Which one of you are able to redeem yourself? So you saved, right? Stop paying bills. No need to eat. They say grace. The English understanding of grace is something far different than the Hebrew understanding of Chana. And we went over it earlier in this thing. You imagine grace as this. You go to a stop sign, you're used to the roads around your neighborhood. And some of y'all do this. This is why I'm using this example. And there's a stop sign that's kind of obscure. You don't really see it very well. But you know what? You know these roads. And ain't no one has ever been on that road anyway. So you don't like stopping at the stop sign. And you get away with this many times. In fact, even when people are on the intersecting road, they slow down seeing you doing your tomfoolery coming out of the corner. And they're slowing down, their acquiescence. That is grace. You being able to run that red, that stop sign over and over and repeatedly with no consequence, consider that to be your English or European understanding of grace. But there will come a time where you run that stop sign, we need to understand that just because Yah has allowed you to be given over into your sin and disobedience, it doesn't mean that he is condoning it. He will give you what your heart desires. You will rob 10 banks, but on that 11th one, exactly. You got it. Humility. Humility. They say that the parable of the rich man and Eleazar. He said, go. If you can't help me, and we're going to get into the chasms and the smooth places under the earth and everything in Sefer Hanok and Sefer Yasher, because this is actually, we're going to get into that right now. I don't want to give too much, okay? To whom little is given, little is expected. To whom much is given, much is expected. And I don't want to put that level of responsibility on your shoulders. But there are those of you that are sharing with, that are here with me, that understand exactly what that whole parable is about. And I'm sure you can imagine, you can understand the pashat, the remez, and the sod of that parable. But the prophets came, era after era after era, and they all spake the same thing with, you think, the chasm, with as much years between them and separating them as the chasm that separates the rich man from Eleazar. You got me? These prophets came proclaiming the same thing as the ones before them. They're continuing to do Ruach HaKodesh. They perform signs and wonders in their days. Not for the sake of their glory, but for the sake of yet the glory of Yah, so that worship and honor can be directed towards the Kadosh HaKadosh, the most set apart of the most set apart. No one has listened to them. It is a message that was not palatable. You see? It's bitter in their mouth, but sweet to their belly. But they don't want things that are bitter in their mouth and good for them. We as individuals, as humans, we want things that sweeten our belly. We don't care what it do to our gut. I'm lying. They're eating crab right now. There's people praying over crab right now. There's people praying over crawfish right now. And conch. Sweeten their mouth. They're killing them, tearing them up. I have a cousin who just died of stomach cancer. Okay? And I'm certainly not using his example. I miss my cousin, man. I didn't spend enough time with him while he was alive. But such is the case, because I myself, have been wayward and lost and not understanding just how to share this message with the spirit of Jonah before he went to Nineveh, before he got swallowed up by the fish. Why do these people deserve repentance? I had the spirit of the son who was, I've served you all this time. How come I never got a goat? Brother, all these goats are yours. What you talking about, man? All that I have is yours because of your obedience. You're grumbling against your brother who's redeemed, who has been lost, who was dead and now found. It's hard not to let the love wax cold. But you got to fight. You got to fight. In here, before you could ever do anything out here. Once this fight has been won, you don't need to use these. Out here, it's already taken care of. I compel you, my brothers and sisters, Havarim, follow. I'm going to leave. We can do 5 minutes, so that'll go into an hour 50. It's probably going to be a 2-hour video. 5 minutes for any questions and answers from my Havarim, questions that they need to ask. Y'all got any questions? or comments as well. Humility, to be honest. Yes, humility, and with humility comes obedience. If you humble yourself, just like Ahab humbled himself before Ben-Hadad, right? Ahab humbled himself before Ben-Hadad and said, whatever you request of me is yours. That's obedience. As a result, hold on one second. Gonna let you in, D-Day. Shalom alaikum. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat, brother.
Yes. You got a question or a comment?
Huh?
You got a question or a comment?
No, I just wanted to dial in and what was it that we were going over? It was something in relation to grace.
Yes.
More about grace in relation to, or I would say Hannah, to hold on, the rich man and Lazarus. Could you explain that more and how grace could tie into that?
Okay. Hannah, grace is one thing. Hannah is another thing. Hannah is a reciprocal relationship. Okay. So if you and I have Hannah, that means I invite you into my home, and you understand that you're a guest in my home. You understand? So let's say we're in the middle of the wilderness. You and I meet up. You on your camel, I on my horse, and we decide we're gonna Hannah because we're brothers. So what we do is we get the tent. We pitch a tent together, and we dwell within that tent. We sup.
Oh, and so it's more like fellowship.
Yes, it's absolute fellowship. It's fellowship of the Most High.
So it would be, I guess it would encompass obedience, fellowship, emunah.
Yes, humility, because we're each humbling ourselves. It's a humbling experience for Yah to come to his created. He's humbling himself. Shouldn't we humble us?
Damn, bro. Damn.
He's asking to dwell with us.
Certain things so we could ourselves to him, but so that he could come and appear before us.
Yes.
He didn't give us these instructions just so that we could humble ourselves to him.
No.
Is that so his presence is known to us that we can understand since I'm sorry if I cannot remember the exact name.
What's that?
For heaven. But,
Malkut Shemayim, the kingdom of the heavens. Malkut Shemayim. Yes.
Okay.
Because the only way for the Malkut Shemayim, for us to reside within the Malkut Shemayim when it's established on earth, is for the Malkut Shemayim to reside within us while we're on earth.
Correct.
You see?
Okay.
You already be a citizen before you can enter into the gates. The Malkut Shemayim exists. It just is not here on earth.
Right.
Yahusha came proclaiming the reign of the Malkut Shemayim before it's established here on earth, so that those who wish to be citizens of that Malkut Shemayim, that kingdom of the heavens, can enlist themselves or can adhere to the covenant, which would make them citizens. And just like Haitian citizens have Haitian protections, Haitian rights outside, the same way that Malkut Shemayim, citizens of the Malkut Shemayim, continue to retain their rights outside of the gates of the Malkut Shemayim. Wherever we go, we carry it with us. And that's the important part that people need to understand, that there's a responsibility. We're not, once you're quote unquote saved, you're not saved. Like, what has changed about your life? It hasn't gotten easier. You've not been redeemed. You've not been taken away from the earth. You're not now in the Malkut Shemayim. But if you reside in there in your spirit and understand that you are now a member of it, then you know you have the promise of redemption offered to you when that day comes, the day of Yahweh. You know you are not appointed to woes. The woes are for the nation. You're not appointed to wrath, I should say, for some people. So you're not going to take the wrath of Yahweh. You see?
Those those who obey, or
Those who obey.
who abide by the path of obedience, at
Yeah.
least.
You listen.
And then,
The highest form of worship is obedience, brother. The highest form of worship is obedience, not sacrifice. And this is in 2 Samuel 16, I think. It says, either you obey or you sacrifice. Now, if you obey someone other than Yah, and you specifically disobey Yah, I mean, you're making it clear who you where your allegiance lies.
you know, it's funny that we touched up on, and I know this, not to go off on a tangent, we touched on how Adam and Eve were given one commandment that they completely screwed up, and as a our lineage was born in sin. So people would say, well, how am I to follow 600 commandments? How am I to follow 10?
Mm-hmm.
Problem is that's the challenge in itself. We're not called to follow all 6. We're called to plant that mustard seed and have the faith of the mustard seed and put forth that energy behind it, true energy, just for the sake of doing it, not for smoke and mirrors.
No, and what it is we follow so that not so others see us, but so that the ones that need us can feel us. That's what it is all about. So when people say we're not saved by works, but we saved by grace, yes, but if you have what you call grace, it should compel you to do works. So the 613 are there to guide you, and the little intricacies that your selfish fleshly desires can see these loopholes in the Torah. So it's saying no, there are no loopholes. It's closing off loopholes. When it says that you should not commit adultery, well, it goes into, when you go into Wa'ikra, it tells you exactly what adultery is and what the sin of it is. But Yahusha didn't come and make an annul adultery or say there's no more adultery. In fact, he made it even the prerequisites even more stringent. He said, look, I know you've heard it said that, adultery is a sin, and he that looks on his neighbor's wife, and you hear that said, and you still committed adultery. So I'm going to tell you this. On a woman with lust in your eyes, you've already committed adultery. If you hate your brother and there's no reason for dislike your brother, meaning you don't have legal right, you understand, to hold a grudge against your brother, murdered him in your heart. Yahusha didn't make it. He did not annul the Torah. He did not make it easier to follow the Torah. He expects a certain amount of knowledge gained from the practice of the Torah. So at this point, when he came, not only would he be recognized as Yahusha, as Moshiach, but he would have seen the fruit from the seeds that were planted when the Torah was given at Horeb. Because by this time, if the seed was planted at Horeb, by this time, not only should it be trees, there should be trees and fruit everywhere. But instead, you tithe in anise and cumin. Okay, you tithe in the smallest parts of the smallest parts, but yet you still say that honoring your father and mother, which actually in Hebrew cultural terms, taking care of them, you say that's a co-burn, free will offering. You can do what you want to or not. What? You're missing the whole. So you want the cumin and the anise, but you don't want to take care of people? That's what it's about. That's what it is about. This is what it's about. In the Torah, it says, if you come and bring an offering to me and you still have a grievance with you and your brother, leave your offering there and go deal it with you and your brother. Yeah, say don't come try and like you say, don't polish this car that's already nice and beautiful and leave that rusty old hunk of junk right there and like ain't nobody, I can't see that rusty old hunk of junk. Go deal with the part of you again. And another way, it over and over and over, we see these instances reiterated. Before you go to take a sty out your brother's eye, remove the plank from yours.
Yeah, don't throw a stone if you in a glass house.
Basically. So Fix yourself. And you can't fix yourself. Fix yourself by realizing that you can't fix yourself and that you rely on Yahushua's example and you rely on the Torah to understand yourself, to understand the iniquities that have been cultivated within you and to resist them, to perform teshubah, to turn and walk a different way, to behave in the contrary manner to which you had been behaving, which was contrary to Yah. The world is at enmity with Yah. The world was at enmity with Yahushua. And in every instance he had, the world was at enmity with him. That's what we see every time. The Pharisees were learned men of the Torah. They knew the Torah by heart. And I'm serious about this. In Israel, a 13-year-old knew the Torah by heart, could write it out. Every ruler, whether it be a Shopatim, a judge, one of the judges, or a Melech, a king, had to write the Torah word for word. They knew it. But knowing it word for word did nothing for it to grow in their hearts. They knew it by the letter. They did not know it by the spirit. Okay. They knew it by the spirit, like you say. As soon as Yahushua showed up and said, this is who I am, they would have been like, oh, you've come. And they would have accepted his correction and his reproof as wise men do. As edification, not a challenge to their authority, because you have no authority. Only Yah has authority. And he's extended that authority to his son, Yahushua, so he can come and redeem the lost children of Israel. So once the lost children of Israel, the lost sheep, just like that one sheep that go off wandering amongst the 99, yes, amongst the 100, you leave the 99 and go get that one. Yahushua came for the lost sheep of Israel exclusively, so that then the lost sheep of Israel could go out into the nations and redeem the nations through the name of Yahushua, pointing to Yah as salvation. That's what we see. He tells his taught ones to go into the nations because he already went to his taught ones, who were the lost sheep of Israel. After them, it's passed on to Rav Shaul, who goes out into the Goyim, because now they have been placed on their shoulders the edict of going into the lost sheep of Israel, the Talmudim, the 12. You go into the lost sheep, you go into all of Israel. Tell them who I am. Tell them that I live. Tell them that I've risen. Give them this truth that you have experienced yourself. Rav Shaul, he had the same edict placed on him, but for the nations. Because what more did a man who used to persecute Natsarim? So this is where we are right now. So this is where, and it's not just for Israel. It's for all those who have grafted into Israel, all those who cast away everything that you their identity and cling to the identity that they have through the Creator, that they were meant to have.
You know what I see as an enlightening moment, and I won't say I've been using that term a little loosely since I can't find the right one. Mentioning the 99 versus the 1. It seems that with all of the studies that the pharaohs and Pharisees have done to memorize the Torah, it seems as if those who are meek were able to notice that Yahushua was the Moshiach over the pharaohs and Pharisees who did all of their studying through the Torah. 99 verses 1. The 99 already doing what they're supposed to do, but it seems like they can't point out who Yahushua is. But the one who needs the most healing is the one who's able to humble themselves, because they know, just like the girl who touched the cloth of Yahushua on Shabbat.
She knew he was Moshiach, and she knew that simply if she could just touch him, so that whatever little seed or sliver of doubt that still remained in her could be dispelled, that she would be healed. Is he real? It wasn't that whether or not Yahushua was the Moshiach, it was whether or not he was really here walking in front of me.
And that's the faith right there.
That's it.
That's the why the one need the help over the many.
All right. I hate to cut you short, bro. Thank you for calling in.
I just wanted time.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate that, man. And we got another viewer, so it's gonna slowly build up. Truth to all who are willing to hear it. And that's our main edict. That's our main purpose. Thank you for calling in, bro.
Yeah, but Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom Shabbat, brother. I can close off with a prayer now. Don't tune out. Stay tuned in. You can close out. All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
Hallelujah for my brother David calling in and asking questions, making comments. And I really encourage anyone else to do the same on the next chat, because we're going to close this down right now. On the next time I'm up here, hallelujah, the stream worked. The next time we're up here and we managed to keep the stream going for longer than 2 minutes, I encourage you to do the same, brothers and sisters. Hevarim, Mishpaka, call. I'll give my number, and you can give me a call, or you can, well, please write them in the chat, because I'm reading it as I'm speaking, and I will be happy to address any concerns or queries, or if you have any commentary. Iron sharpen iron, yes. But for now, what I would like to do, I'd like to say Shema. Well, we'd like to close out with a prayer and say Shema, okay? And for any of you that would like to follow along, because we'll do it in the tongue of exile as well. It's in Devarim, or Deuteronomy 6 and verse 4, okay? That is the Shema. So first we'll pray. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, Boreinu, Eloheinu, Kokoinu, Abinu, Shevet Shemayim, Yitgereshimka. Bavakasha, B'Shem Yahusha, we come unto you to give you thanks. To order Rabbah Yahweh Zavaot, for being who you are. Kadosh HaKadosh. Today you've revealed to us through your Son, through your Ruach HaKodesh, your set-apart spirit, the truth of your words. May they be impressed upon our hearts, so that we can share them with the many through our actions, through what they see to be the content of our character, and not just the quality of our words. Let it not be our syntax. Let it not be our articulation. But instead, let it be our walk and what we do, our emunah, that proves to be an example to the nations of your loving commitment and everlasting kindness. You've extended this to people who don't deserve it, and there's nothing that we could ever do to earn it. But you sent Yahushua HaMashiach to earn that for us, to be our advocate. All those that would enter into your shalom today are Baruch because of it. All those that find themselves lost along this way, oh Yah, and are suffering, are Baruch. For you have extended redemption to them. Above those that find their reward here on the earth, you have extended your redemption to those that you say meet the prerequisites by hating this life. They hate their family, not so that they would burn. They don't hate their loved ones so that they may die or perish. Instead, they hate the state in which we exist with our loved ones. They hate the state in which we exist in this world. That we are servants, made servants of the world, when we wish only to be servants of you, Elohim. Therefore, we ask that you make us Kadashim, that you recognize Natsarim Israel. Oh, Yah, guide us into your Chana, so that we may find redemption and citizenship in your Malkut Shemayim. And we as a nation will come together and say, Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malkutu Le'alam Vayet, V'hafti et Yahweh Eloheka B'kul, V'avka V'kul Nesheka, V'kul Me'adeka V'chayu HaDabarim Ha'aleh, Ashe Anoke Matzavka Yom Alavavka, V'shinantam Lavaneka, V'tibaka Bam, V'shefteka, V'teka, V'lechteka V'rek, Uvshebeka Uvkumeka, Ukshatam Le'yot Yateka, Uktutu Futba Ineneka, Uktav Tam Muzuzut, V'teka, Urish Areka. In the tongue of exile, we say, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And we shall love Yahweh our Elohim with all our hearts, with all our being, with all our mights. And these words which you have impressed upon us today shall be in our hearts, and we shall impress them upon our children. and shall speak of them when we sit in our house, and when we rise up, and when we lay down, and when we rise up. And they shall be a sign on our foreheads, and we shall write on our hand, and they shall be as frontlets between our eyes, and we shall write them on the doorposts of our house and on our gates. Hallelujah. B'shem Yahusha. Amen. Sorry about that. Sometimes the Shema in the tongue of exile, or English, kind of mixes me up. I usually say it in the Hebrew, and I pray that you be compelled to do the same, and to learn these words and impress them upon your heart, and impress them upon your children, and wear them as a sign on your hand, and wear them as frontlets between your eyes, and put them on the doorposts of your house and your gate. These words, this is where the Malkut Shemayim begins for us. Just as with anything, intent, vibration, manifestation. First, we hold the intent. This is where the reality for us starts. In our hearts and minds, we are citizens of the Malkut Shemayim, and as such, we should live as such and bring this good word, good news of its coming to those who need it the most. Hallelujah. Yes, brother. Baruch haba b'shem Yahweh. Blessed he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Thank you all for joining me on this Shabbat. I pray that we have many more to share. On Wednesday, we'll be hitting up our regular Wednesday studies. We're actually going to be moving towards Wednesday. I'm going to give you a preview for Wednesday. We're going to be in Bereshit 7 through 9, Sefer Yasher 5 through 6, and Sefer Hanok 65 through 68. That's Genesis 7 through 9, the book of Yasha, or the book of the upright, 5 through 6, and the book of Enoch, chapter 65 through 68. We're dealing with the deluge, the flood, why it came, who was involved, what it comprised of, when it happened, and how did Yah cause these events to occur, and how he chose to redeem mankind from their fate. It's going to be very interesting. I implore you to join me on Wednesday. Of course, Wednesday. Oh, and also I forgot to say, tonight is the Kaddish. Kaddish. The new moon. So today is actually the beginning of the month of, we just came out of Zoo. Oh goodness. Are we Aviv Zuz? Oh my goodness. We're going into the third month. I'm so sorry. We're going into the third month on our Hebrew calendar. And this is the first day of it. Well, this evening will be the first day of it. So Shem Yakadesh, everybody. What a time for it to work, right? So Wednesday, which should be Sivan. Thank you, my dear, Sivan. And that is, so Kadesh, Shimya Kadesh Sivan. Wednesday this week will be the 27th on your Gregorian calendar, but it will be 2, 3, 4. I think it would be, that's funny, the 4th on the 4th. The 4th on the week is going to be on Yom Rawi. Yom Rawi, which is Dalet. Yom Dalet on Yom Rawi. The 4th day on the 4th day. I got a little bit of a tingle, y'all. Y'all feel that? Ooh. Something's coming together. Anyway, hallelujah. Thank you for joining me. I love you all. Mishpachah, my family, Hebarim, my friends, all the world over. And I invite you all to become a part of Natsarim Israel before the great day of Yahweh, so that you may redeem and find the redemption through Yahushua HaMashiach, who some may call Jesus the Christ. Find your way into the Malkut Shemayim when it's established here on earth. Hallelujah! Oh, you got that right. Shalom Shabbat.